Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading The Hero of Ages. So The Hero of Ages is book 3 in the Mistborn series, and this is a fantasy series, and I have read books 1 and 2 and I have reading vlogs for them that I will link in the description, and I will link a playlist up there. And I really like the first 2 books, and they just left me very excited but also very scared for this. And I went into this book expecting to be heartbroken, and I won't say if I was or not, but let's just say I was terrified. And I just want to say that there are spoilers in this reading vlog, and having said that, let's get into it. Okay, so I am on page 300 and I've read parts 1 and 2, and everyone is miserable in this book because most of them have lost someone that they care about. And also there was that probably evil force released at the end of book 2, and the mists are still killing people, so people are still dying. And actually in the last page of the prologue, we were following Marsh, and it says, "Yet it was too strong, the force. Somehow it had control over Marsh, and it needed him and the other Inquisitors to be its hands. It was free. Marsh could still feel it exulting in that, but something kept it from affecting the world too much by itself. An opposition, a force that lay over the land like a shield. It was not yet complete. It needed more, something else, something hidden, and Marsh would find that something, bring it to its master, the master that Vin had freed, the entity that had been imprisoned within the Well of Ascension. He called itself Ruin." And then later we see Marsh again being controlled by Ruin, and how much he is struggling with that, because he is controlled and he's aware that he's being controlled and he can't stop, and he kind of wishes that he would just go kind of insane and just not be conscious about the fact that he's being controlled. So again, everyone's fucking miserable. And Vin and Ellen and the rest, they're sort of on a treasure hunt to find places where the Lord Ruler had hidden supplies and other things in case he did lose his power and people needed the supplies. And so they have found almost all of them, and then they have a fight with a Koloss army, and then they add those Koloss to their own army by controlling them with their powers. And then they have 2 new locations that they know they have treasure hidden in them, and they are pretty sure that one of them has the adium, that adium they have been looking for since book 1, that huge supply of adium that they knew, or they were pretty sure, that the Lord Ruler had. And so Ellen and Vin and most of them go to that location, and then Sazed and a few other people go to another location where the other collection of supplies is. And in that other location, we are actually following, before Sazed gets there, we are following Spook, who is there. And he has kind of gained some new powers because he is an Elementor, but he's not a Mistborn. He can only control one metal, but he has just been using it non-stop, and so he is just even more gifted than he used to be. And the thing that he can control is to enhance his senses, so his senses are even more enhanced now, and they have a name for it, but I forgot. But basically he needs to be burning his metal constantly, and he's it's not even a conscious burning, it just burns by itself kind of, and his senses are very, very heightened. And in that city, the guy in charge, they call him the citizen. And he's like following Kelsier's ways, or what he thinks Kelsier's ways were. And so he hates all nobles. He doesn't let any nobles in the city. He doesn't, like, he kills all the nobles. And so obviously Elend can't, like, he wants to take the city, but he obviously can't do it like friendly, in a friendly way, because he is a noble and that guy would just not agree to that. But anyway, back to Spook. He's actually caught, and he, like, when he wakes up, he's in a building on fire, and he's trying to figure out how to get out of there, and then he hears a voice like guiding him out of the house, and then he sees that that voice belongs to Kelsier. Like, Kelsier is there, and he hands him like a vial of metals, but it's not like his metal, it's another metal, but it's the one that he would need to get out of there. And actually he manages to burn that metal, which should not be possible, and he makes it out. And like, what was like the Kelsier thing I saw? Because like, Kelsier's dead, so is he a ghost? Because he couldn't just be an hallucination, because he did gain a new power and he did get the metals from whatever he saw. So I'm just like, what is going on? And then the last thing we see there is that Sazed and the others do get there, and they find the location with the supplies. Then Elend and Vin and the others, they get to the other city, and they want to try, before just attacking and taking the city, Elend wants to try to just get to talk to the guy he's in charge and to just try to negotiate. And so he and Vin go to a ball, and he doesn't manage to convince the guy in charge, but he thinks that he will still be able to. And then the other thing that we see is that Tensun, who is the Kendra, he is he's in prison because he broke his contract and he revealed secrets of the Kendra to humans. And he asks for a trial. And when he's in the trial, he's saying like why he revealed their secrets to Vin. And he's saying, I did not break my contract because I decided to serve a graded contract, the first contract. And then one of the guys who's like in charge of the trial says, the father is dead. How could you serve our contract with him? And the father is was the Lord Ruler, because the Lord Ruler have created them. And then Tensun says, he's dead, that is true, but the first contract did not die with him. Then, the heir of the survivor, was the one who killed the Lord Ruler. She is our mother now. Our first contract is with her. I did it because she has the right to know our secret. She is the mother. But the others are not really convinced. And he also tries to, tell everyone that, the world outside is ending, like with the ruin that was released and with the mist still killing everyone. But once again, the others don't really care about that. And then we get to the result of his trial. You will be beaten to the point of fracture, then bricked into a pit with only one hole for your daily slope. You will remain there for 10 generations. Only after that will you be executed by starvation. I was like, excuse me? That is outrageous. But then he actually manages to escape, which was iconic, and that is actually how part 2 ended. And I am really liking it. This one definitely started like with a bang, because it's actually started with the battle with Vin and Elend and the others against the Koloss. So it was a lot from the start, and I mean, I'm definitely scared because, like I said, everyone's sad, and I'm pretty sure they will get even more sad, and I will get sad as well. And also, I'm so interested in what's happening to Spook, because he can now burn 2 of the metals, which should not be possible, because you can either burn one or you can burn all of them. You either have one power or you have all of them. No one just has 2 powers. And also, how dare Brandon Sanderson just break my heart with like the whole Kelsier thing, because I am not okay with that, because I'm still not over the fact that he's dead. And also, now the dynamic between Elend and Vin is super different, because he is a Mistborn and just has these different powers, and his personality as well has changed, because he was just following the rules, being very honest, just being very nice and precious in the other books, and now he's not like that. And in the beginning I didn't really like it, but then I did, but now I don't really like it again, and I am confused. And not just his dynamic with Vin, but just him in general. I am unsure of what I think about his whole thing. And then, I mean, Tensun's chapters and like his whole plot line is so cool, and I'm so invested in what he's doing. And I just want him to be okay, and I don't know if he will. And again, I am scared, but I am loving it. And I will read, I think, parts 3 and 4, and I will be back. So I have finished parts 3 and 4, and I'm on page 530. And there was something I forgot to mention from like parts 1 and 2, and I just realized that I still have this in, and I could barely hear myself. Anyway, I forgot to mention that Elend and like the people in his sort of army, they were sending their people into the mists because the mists do kill people, but some people, and the ones that get in there and get attacked and then survive, they will be immune to the mists afterwards. And so he wants an army that is immune to the mists. And speaking of the mists, now we have learned some statistics about them and about the people that they do affect. Basically, like 16% of the people who go into the mists die, and the ones that survive, most of the people are recovered in one day, but 1/16 of them stay sick for 16 days, like to the hour. And then someone's saying that, you know, that has to mean something because it's the number of months that the survivor, Kelsier, spent in the pits, and it's how old Vin was when she became Mistborn. And Ellen's like, I don't think that's what it means, but it must mean something because, you know, a disease, or in this case, like, not exactly a disease, but some magical thing that is making people sick, it's not like that exact, and so it does have to mean something because it's killing people like in a very exact number. And so he's sure that it does mean something, they just don't know what it means. And then we also learned that the Koloss and the Inquisitors were kind of created using the same type of magic. And so that's why the Lord Ruler could control both the Inquisitors and the Koloss kind of in the same way. And now they are being controlled by Ruin in the same way. And that's why we saw Marsh saying that he was being controlled, because he is an Inquisitor and he is being controlled by Ruin. And he goes back to Luthadel, which is the city that they were all from. And now like all the other characters are not there, but he goes there, and Penrod is still king, and he does something to Penrod, like with a metal thing, that makes him controllable as well. And then the men from the city they are surrounding, they kill half of the Koloss army, Elend's Koloss army, and so they have lost a lot. I think it was like 10,000 Koloss or something like that. And then Elend and Vin decide that they're going to get into the city, and Elend is going to one of the balls to distract that guy who's in charge. And at the same time, Vin is going to try to find the adium that he has hidden somewhere in the city. And while Elend is at the ball, he realizes that like the guy is actually very interested in what he's saying, which he finds kind of strange, but just goes with it because he does want to distract him. But then we see that Vin gets captured, and then the other guy says that he was actually distracting Elend so he could get Vin. And so Elend, he knows that he can't just get Vin out because he's literally alone inside of the city, so he has to go back into his camp. And he decides to get more Koloss to replace the ones that he's lost. And he's kind of like almost giving up, but then the Mist Spirit, who's also called Preservation, who's like the opposite of Ruin, he spends like the last remaining energy that he has to talk to Elend to make sure that he does not give up. And kind of at the same time, Ruin is talking to Vin and just gloating that he will win basically because she's trapped in there and he has pretty much already won and preservation is gone. And then with that, Vin decides that she needs to get out and she will not give up and she will do whatever she has to do to get rid of Ruin, or just at least trap him again. And then we also see Tensun, who has escaped from his trial, and he does make his way to Luthadel because he thinks that everyone is still in there, and then he realizes that it's not, and the King Penrod, he is not taking care of things, and so he finds Kelsier's bones because he had killed the other Kendra, and the other Kendra was using Kelsier's bones, so he knows like what Kelsier looked like, and he knows where the bones are because he killed the other Kendra. And so he finds Kelsier's bones and he uses them and he like becomes Kelsier, like he looks like Kelsier, and he goes find the people who still like see Kelsier as a god and just tries to help them protect themselves. And then he is on his way again to try to find Vin, even though I'm pretty sure he's not going in the right direction. I get the names of the cities confused, but I think he's going to the one where Spook and Sazed and the others are. And speaking of, Spook is now seen as a hero as well, and because he survived, like escaped from that house that was on fire. And they call him the survivor of the flames. And so he is trying to start a rebellion against the citizen, and he's also still saving people from execution. And we see like this whole time that he can still see and hear Kelsier, and Kelsier is guiding him on how to do the rebellion to get against that guy. And he's kind of following, not exactly, but he's kind of following what Kelsier is telling him. And then they get their plan in motion and he's fighting that guy. And then he realizes that he has like a metal spike on him and he removes it. And by removing it, he loses the like extra power that he had to control that second metal. And basically like, he had that spike to be controlled, just like Marsh did to Penrod. So it was never Kelsier or like Kelsier's ghost, it was Ruin, like getting in his mind. So now he is obviously a lot weaker because the extra metal that he was using was like making him stronger and just more resistant, and now he doesn't have that, and now the city is like burning down and he's trying to save it, and that's like how it ended. And I'm not sure if he's even alive or not. And yeah, I mean, so much is happening and I am not okay. And I mean, if Spook is dead, I will definitely not be okay. But however, I am loving how much we are learning, because we are learning so much about the world and the different types of magic and also different types of creatures. And like we're just learning so much in general, and I am loving every second of it. But yeah, everyone is like in a bad situation. There's no one that is not struggling right now. And I mean, when Ruin was talking to Vin, he was saying that just by fighting him, he would win. So, you know, that is not good. So I am still very scared. I am very nervous. And I'm also very sad that this book is playing with my emotions. Like everyone's pretending to be Kelsier, but Kelsier's not there and I miss Kelsier and everything is bad. Everything's bad right now and I am not okay. And I am scared to continue, but also I am very excited. And I only have one part left. It's only, I think it's less than 200 pages. So I don't even know what is gonna happen, but I am, like I said, excited and scared, and I will finish it and I will get back to you. Okay, so I have finished The Hero of Ages, and good news, Spook is alive, and he actually sends a messenger to warn Vin about these spikes and how Ruin can control people with those metal spikes. But Marsh, being controlled by Ruin, kills the messenger because Ruin can't, he's like kind of blind to metals, cannot see them, nor can he read anything that's written on them. And the messenger was taking something written in metal, so he makes Marsh read what it says there and then destroy it and also kill the messenger. And Tensoon makes it to the city where Spook and Saze and the others are because he's looking for Ven, but like I thought, he was going to the wrong place. And he gets there and he talks to Saze, and he actually says that we have been thinking since book one that the nobles were the families of the people who helped the Lord Ruler become the Lord Ruler, like they were his friends. But we learned that's actually not true. And the Lord Ruler's friends were turned into the first generation of Kendra, who are still alive because Kendra are like immortal. They can be killed, but they don't die naturally. And he tells that to Saze, and Saze is very excited because like his goal before was to learn about the religion of his people, but the Lord Ruler had like erased all religions to make himself like be the god, and so he would never be able to learn. Now that the Lord Ruler was dead, he thought that there was no one who knew about the religion. But since those people became Kendra and Kendra can't die, they will know about the religion. So he wants to go there. And Tensoon takes Saze to his home. And when he's talking to the Kendra, he learns, he's learning about the religion as well, but he learns something else. One of the Kendra is saying, if what this man says is true, then Ruin has escaped. That means he will be coming for his body, his power. And Saze asks, it's here. And the Kendra says, we were to gather it. The first contract, the Lord Ruler named it, our change in this world. The other children had a purpose. The Colossus, they were created to fight. The Inquisitors, they were created to be priests. Our task was different. Gather the power and protect it. Hide it. Keep it. For the Father, the Lord Ruler, knew Ruin would escape one day. And on that day, he would begin searching for his body. And so we learned that basically Ruin's body is the adium that everyone is looking for. And so, like I said, Ruin obviously wants the adium, but since he's kind of blind to metals, he cannot find it himself. And that is why he is like following Vin and Elend as they are searching for the adium. But Vin is like imprisoned by the other guy who was supposed to have the adium, but we learned that he actually doesn't. And when Ruin learns that he actually doesn't know where the adium is, he takes control of the Colossus that were being controlled by Elend and uses those Colossus to start attacking Elend and the city. And so Vin tries to trick Ruin and tries to make him believe that she always knew where the adium was and she was just trying to get him away from it. And so she lures Ruin and a bunch of Inquisitors away from that city. And meanwhile, Elend is like running from the Colossus and like with his army, and we learn something else because we knew before that the effects that the mists had on people were strange because they were all like very connected to the number 16. And then he's talking to like that guy in charge of the city who's called Yeoman. And Yeoman is saying 16 is a powerful number. It was the number of days it took the Lord Ruler to reach the Wall of Ascension. It figures prominently in church doctrine. The number of original inquisitors, the number of precepts in each canton charter, the number of elementic metals. So everything is very connected to 16. And when he talks about the fact that there are actually 16 elementic metals, Elend thinks something. And what he thinks is that the mists were not exactly the enemy, and the mists were actually like the people that were attacked by the mists, they were being made elementers. Because in order for someone to be an elementer, they have to snap. And people snap when they go through some sort of either physical or emotional trauma. And that is why they are suffering in the mists. It's in order for them to snap and become Allomancers. So now he has like an army of Allomancers who will be obviously much stronger to fight. And speaking of fighting, Vin does, like I said, lure Ruin and the Inquisitors, and she is fighting them, and she's actually fighting specifically Marsh, and he suddenly like takes control because he's being controlled by Ruin, but like for a moment he takes control and he remembers what he read in the like that metal thing that Ruin made him destroy, and about like spikes of metal can be used to control people, and he remembers like that Vin has an earring, and he takes the earring off, and like Vin stops hearing Ruin in her head, and then she manages to like kill 12 Inquisitors by herself because she's channeling power directly from the mists, and then she vanishes. And we learn that she vanished because the mists, like, they needed a host because preservation was gone, so the mists needed a host, and they took Vin as a host when she channeled power from them. And then after that fight, Ruin gets to the home of the Kendra because he's still looking for the Adium, and he starts controlling the Kendra, and the other Kendra realized that the time of resolution has come because they had always been warned by the Lord Ruler that there might come a time for resolution, and what that basically means is that they're gonna have to all not exactly kill themselves, but pretty much kill themselves. And so most of them start doing it, but some of them stay alive and they're still being controlled by Ruin. And then Elend and part of his army get there, and they start using the Adium that is there. And then Marsh gets there as well, and Marsh is being controlled by Ruin, and then Elend is being controlled by Vin as they fight, because Vin is now also sort of a god, just like Ruin, and they're like controlling each other. And then like Marsh is obviously looking for the Adium, and Elend tells him that they have used up all the Adium fighting, so there is no more Adium, the Adium is gone, Ruin's never gonna get his body. And then Marsh just kills Elend, which I did not see coming. And then it gets worse. It gets worse, but like better, but worse, because after Elend dies, Vin is like talking to Ruin, and she's saying, "You created the thing that can kill you, Ruin, and you just made one huge final mistake. You shouldn't have killed Elend. You see, he was the only reason I had left to live." And then it says, "She didn't shy back, though the conflict of opposites ripped her apart. Ruin screamed in terror as the force of her power completely melded with Ruin's. Her consciousness, now formed and saturated with preservation, moved to touch that of Ruin. Neither would yield, and with a surge of power, Vin bid farewell to the world, then pulled Ruin into the abyss with her. Their two minds puffed away, like mist under a hot sun." So she's dead, and I am not okay. I am not okay. And then Sazed is still there, and he finds Elend and Vin's bodies and like a third body of a man he doesn't know, but like we know that was Ruin. And he like starts feeling the powers of both preservation and Ruin, and he finally understands like that the prophecies did make sense. And one of the things that the prophecy said is that the Hero of Ages would have the power to save the world, but also the power to destroy it. So the Hero of Ages would have the power of Ruin and the power of preservation. And so like he takes both powers, he becomes the Hero of Ages, he becomes like a god, and he manages to fix everything that was wrong with the world and like saves the world. And then the last thing that like before the prologue, it said, "Reshek and Vin only touched small pieces of it at the Well of Ascension. He realized, I have something more, something endless. Ruin and preservation were dead, and their powers had been joined together. In fact, they belonged together. How had they been split? Someday, perhaps, he would discover the answer to that question. Somebody would need to watch over the world, care for it, now that its gods were gone. It wasn't until that moment that Sazed understood the term Hero of Ages. Not a hero that came once in the ages, but a hero who spanned the ages, a hero who would preserve mankind throughout all its lives and times. Neither preservation nor ruin, but both. God." And then he leaves like a book that we have been like reading passages of before each chapter, and he leaves that book to spook like just talking about everything that happened and what he learned and like all the history and what he should do because people would now need a leader and all of that. And then one of the like the pretty much the last thing of the like a letter that he left with the book, and it said, "I have made you Mistborn and healed the damage you did to your body by flaring tin so much. I hope you don't mind. It was Kelsier's request actually. Consider it a parting gift from him. Watch over them for me." And I am not okay. I am emotional. Actually, I finished it like a couple days ago, and like reading this again, I am still not okay. Anyway, let's just go into my final thoughts. So in this book, like from the beginning, everyone was sad, everyone was miserable, and then almost everyone died, making me sad and miserable. But I mean, I continue to love the characters that I already loved. Like Vin continued to be amazing, an absolute icon. And Ellen was actually much more amazing in this book as well. Not just because he had like Mistborn powers, but because like his personality itself was more amazing. He was just more confident in himself, and I definitely like him more in this book. And something that I also really liked more in this book is that like Spook finally had like the spotlight, and he definitely deserved it. And then Sazed, I mean, I also loved him from the beginning, and he was also iconic in this book. And I mean, I do have mixed feelings about his end because, I mean, it's not like he's dead, but he's also not alive. But I guess he's okay with what happened, I suppose. So I am as well. And I mean, he did save the world, so I guess that's a good thing. But also, like, he was miserable when he was alive because he had lost like the love of his life, so maybe that's better. I don't know. I'm just sad with this book overall. I'm devastated. And in this book we also learned so much, and there was a lot of things that we thought we knew from the previous books, but they were actually wrong. But the good thing is that like it made sense. It's not like something that came out of nowhere and they were saying like, actually it's this way, not that way. No, it made sense to like actually be this way, which I definitely enjoyed, because when they were starting to change things, I was like, is this gonna make sense? But then it did. And like I said already, I was just nervous throughout this whole book because there was so much happening and all of it was dangerous. And there were so many fights going on, which on the one hand I loved because I do love fight scenes, but on the other hand, you know, people die in fights, so there's that. And yeah, I mean, I loved it. I was invested in every page. I actually had the 5-star feeling in this book from the beginning, and it definitely continued that way. So I am obviously giving it 5 stars, especially because, I mean, it broke my heart. And what else can I want from a book, you know? I want a book that destroys me, and this book definitely did that. So like I said, 5 stars. And so yeah, that is it. I have finished the first 3 books in the Mistborn series. I know there are another series in the Mistborn saga, I think that's it. And my first 3 books in the Cosmere universe, and I am very excited to read more. And yeah, that is the end of this reading vlog. I really hope that you have enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!